paralyzed by fear. I'm clutching you so tight, afraid to lose. I retreat more each night. Where is my voice? I've muted myself, and in my shyness, it's you I repel. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me so we can be we. Find my way. The fractures between us rise into view. I cling to the scraps of the care that falls through. Where is my strength? I've crumbled apart, hiding from the truth. I've shattered my heart, but I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find a way to me so we can be we. Find my way. Here is this moment to take a chance to go on alone or grow and advance. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me so we can be we. Find my way. I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find my way to me so we can be we. Find my way. Find my way. I'll find my way.
Thank you for finding your way to Sunday Live. I am Caleb, and I'm here every week from 5 to 6, plus the after party starting at 6 o'clock with the artists where we dig a little deeper into their background. I bring you artists you've probably never heard of and get to introduce you to them. Luckily, I'm part of the Balanced Breakfast community, which is a social group of recording artists, music business people, music lawyers, etc., etc. And we get together every 2 weeks to discuss things. And I've started during COVID having folks from Balanced Breakfast and folks that I knew that do music on and doing little showcases of their work, their background. It's kind of, this is your life kind of format. And I'm really happy to have you here with me. So I want to bring on my sidekick, Joe, I'm in the Seattle area, and Joe's in the San Francisco area, and I like to check in with him and see what's happening down there. Joe, you out there?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
How are you doing?
Well, I'm just a little exhausted from a very, very long sun-filled, sun-drenched bicycle ride to the wilds of Point Richmond's waterfront and back to the Berkeley Hills. But it was a very good ride. I feel very replenished energy-wise. It's the exercise is very uplifting despite being tiring. It gets my blood going. It levels my mood. All the all the right hormones and endorphins kick in to balance, and it has a very balancing, mellowing effect. So I feel pretty good right now.
Awesome. I had a professor, my senior year of my bachelor's degree in clinical psychology, that he wrote a book called The Exercise Prescription for Mental Health. And that was, he said, most mental health is caused by lack of exercise.
I can relate. I would add maybe a little bit lack of sleep as well, as the cherry on top. But yeah, absolutely. The more exercise you get, man, the better you feel, and you can focus better, and you become interested in problems. Otherwise, you get bored. You want to start solving things, you know. So a good regimen of exercise and the occasional pot of coffee, and I'm set.
Awesome. Well, folks, there you have your health advice from Dr. Joe this week. Get out and get mobile. I know it's tough if you're in lockdown. Find a way to go walking, cycling if you can. I know I'm watching the weather start to open up here near Seattle, so I'm going to get that bicycle out. I see people starting to use bicycles. Although there might still be some more opportunity for some cross-country skiing. We did a little couple weeks ago, and we were going to do some yesterday, but a storm came through and the passes closed. And so do your best to get out. Speaking of out and about, our guest is mobile today and running around, and that is Mr. Marshall Hugh. Marshall is a performer, songwriter, and a philanthropist. And I'll give you a little taste of Marshall's world with the following video.
With musicians not being able to play concerts in person due to COVID, one Seattle band had to get creative. Photojournalist Andy Anderson shows us how the Martial Law Band found a way to bring live music back to the people of Seattle.
So Seattle, this is the first song off our album. It's called Real News.
We just had to think of a creative way to promote a new album that we really feel strongly about in challenging times. And the idea just came to me. I said, yo, we should get a float. We're the Martial Law Band. We built a 12th and Pine float to commemorate our debut album. And so we're out spreading love and bringing music back to the people. There's also been just a need because of the pandemic and politics to bring people together, and music has the unique ability to do that. Prior towards this, we were going to go on a 50-day national tour, and it got canceled as a result of COVID.
Live music like that doesn't exist anymore, so it's just sad. We miss it, and seeing them on the street on like a sunny day is like the best case scenario.
We tried the live streams, you know, we've tried other creative ways, but there's nothing like really feeling and hearing live music. When you believe in something and you believe in the message of your music, there's nothing that's impossible.
Thank y'all so much. It feels amazing to be back on the stage.
And we laughed at the idea, and then the next day we made it happen.
That was an interview with Hugh Marshall on Q13. No, is it C13, Q13? I'm still learning the channels up here. Anyways, Marshall Hugh, hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Q13 Fox. That's what you're looking for there. What's up, everybody? I'm really just excited to be here, excited for the conversation, and I've been looking forward to this for about 2 weeks. So how's everybody doing? And thanks for having me, fam.
Awesome. Well, I'm doing fine, and Joe's doing fine. And folks, there is a chat room if you are on my personal Facebook page, on my Caleb YouTube channel, or the Audio Terrace Twitch channel. It will aggregate everything into a chat, and you can see the chat right there. And Marshall's holding up the album, 12th and Pine.
Come on, Caleb. You already know how it goes. We got a couple edits on the spacing and whatnot that we're still going to crank out for the next edition, but we're going to crank through these first.
Sweet. And I had the privilege of meeting Marshall in October 2019. I just moved to Seattle, and I did a presentation on music and money and revenue streams and how it all works behind the scenes. And Marshall was the MC for the event. And afterwards, he said, I'm going to work with that guy someday. And yeah, I thought, yeah, whatever. And, 6 months later, get the phone call, hey, come help us out. So been a great ride, and thank you for bringing me on board that. And I just enjoy sharing, my knowledge with you guys. And hey, I'm learning a lot from you guys back.
Well, it's one of those things. I don't know if there's a question in there, Caleb, but he referenced when we first met. I saw Caleb talking. I was at Showgrounds was having. There's an app called Showgrounds that basically lets everyone in Seattle know where to go when shows were actually a thing. So they would bring in designated speakers, people with this wealth of knowledge, and then they would try to get community members to come in and absorb that knowledge. And then here comes Caleb. They walk in here, and next thing you know, he's just hitting truth bomb after truth bomb after truth bomb on the stage. And I'm looking at this guy like, goodness gracious, if I could just somehow find a way to get him his knowledge into my brain and this type of execution, then I might just be all right. And so I took the leap of faith that day saying that to you. And it's really great to have that be our inception story, because it was true. As soon as I heard you speaking, I'm like, man, if there's some way I can get this guy to put his knowledge into what I got going on, I might have some. So it's a blessing. And sometimes you just know with certain people. So you're good people, you're family in my book, man. And I'm just so happy to have someone like you in my life, man. Real talk.
Well, back at you. And yeah, not everybody likes those truth bombs. There were a lot of people who
tough.
had very sad faces after I gave that lecture.
Well, I think for me, I remember some of the stuff that you were talking about. And I was just like, I remember looking at the cold hard facts you had on the stage about where artists get their revenue from, and I was just shaking my head like, oh my God, this is never going to work. With the current structure, this is never going to work. So it's one of those things where, as a creative, I really like just making the music, doing what else, and then throwing my hands up. And there's so much that's going on behind the scenes in the minutia, if you will, of the music business that I'm just trying to sprint and learn from you and everybody and push and ping off each other. And of course, we got Papa Randy, who I hope we're going to dive into in this live interview, therapy session that we're having for the next hour here.
And I speaking of the therapy session aspect, you in the beginning was like, hey man, tell me what's what. And I think probably within a month or two, you said, okay, don't tell me what's what. Tell me what I need to do.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, oh, this hooks up to this and this hooks up to that. And then you put the hose here and then that gives you 10 cents. And you're like, okay, I now get that the music industry is a mess. And it's a very local thing. In the United States, it's done one way. And depending on if it's TV, it's done one way. If it's a movie, it's done another way. If it's radio, it's done another way. And hey, if you get big in France, it's going to be done a completely another way. So you were very wise to say, okay, what do I bring to the party? And let me focus on being rock solid at that and building a trusted team around you. And you are one of these network people. And there's pros and cons to that, as you're finding out. Yeah, you can excite a lot of people around you, but they don't necessarily communicate with each other. And so tell me a bit about your journey right now as you've come through the last 10 months of what you thought you needed to focus on versus what you're now focusing on.
Wow, that's like an immense question because there's so much. But for those of you, before the pandemic started, basically the point that we were at is that martial law band, myself, I'm a hip hop artist, I'm a host. I will wear whatever hat is necessary to try to get our music and our message of love and positivity out to the world, right? And so I was at a point where right before COVID shut everything down, we were poised to go on a national tour. Now, a national tour means a lot of different things if you're actually a musician. The national tour that I am speaking about is best friends jumping in a van, throwing our hands up and saying, worst case scenario, Marty has a 401k we can crack into and maybe sleep somewhere in the middle of Kansas City. So we were ready to put it all on the line. Like we had all looked at each other in the face and said, if I have to eat top ramen and oatmeal for the next foreseeable 50 days, then that's what we're going to do. And out of nowhere, this whole COVID started just pinging around, hitting my phone. And the minute South by Southwest canceled, we decided to cancel our tour as well. So, of course, I had heard of Caleb and whatnot. Everything was kind of going on. And this was at the Balanced Breakfast that he talked about, right, where they brought him in as an expert. And then we're right about to go on our national tour. That's over. And I'm just sit there like every other musician with my hands up, like, what in the world am I supposed to do now? Everything that I was doing was so geared around, especially martial law band. We're a very good live show. So that's our main strength. So we want to just bash that main strength over and over again. So we put our hands up like, what are we supposed to do? When are concerts ever supposed to come back? And honestly, there was just about, I want to say 10, 15 days of me just meditating, trying to figure out life and really I don't know. I really didn't know. And then I just looked at myself and said, okay, I kind of relied on my sports background and my regiment to where it's like, if you don't play games, what are you doing? You're shooting jumpers. So I went and I just started making a song a day, and I started a series called Wake and Create. And this is kind of a little bit independent of the band because I'm isolated from the band. I'm up north, Mill Creek, locked in. The band's like Shoreline, but that seems like Alaska in the middle of COVID. You don't want to go out right when the COVID started. So I'm just locked in the house, making song after song. I've made about 30 songs in a row. And then the Ahmaud Arbery situation happened, which is kind of the precursor to the George Floyd situation happening. So Ahmaud Arbery occurred, and those of you that don't know, you can go do the research and this and that. Unfortunately, another person that looks like me was killed in a circumstance that just sounds funny. And it really hit me strong. So that's when you started seeing me really post a lot of things that in our music, it was always about social change. It was always about uplifting people. But it wasn't there. The themes always existed of Black Revolution. They're woven. I can list 30 different references within our first EP, Nostros, to where I'm pointing towards that type of revolution. But it was more covert back then. That's just the way of the world. At least it was, just 8 months ago. It's crazy to say it's the way of the world. And then, 8 months, the way of the world shifts. But that being said, the Ahmaud Arbery situation occurs. I start posting a lot of things that just said, hey, this is what our music talks about. This is really, I'm upset about this. And I remember posting Marty, our saxophone player. This is before Chop. This is before the George Floyd situation happened. Marty, our saxophone player, he goes out on a limb and he speaks up about racial injustice as a bandmate of mine over the Ahmaud Arbery situation because he sees I'm hurting. And I remember, you can look back on my Instagram. It's so funny how Instagram works because it can date everything. For me, thanking Marty for saying like, yo, thank you as a white ally stepping up. And it's just funny because all these words, ally, this and that, it wasn't so common verbiage back then. It was things that I had to go look up. Like, how do I thank my white friend for sticking his neck out for me into his sphere that's predominantly white? And representing, a cause that I stand so passionately behind. This is before George Floyd, mind you, right? Mm-hmm. So we're navigating this all throughout COVID. And I just started making music about it. And then it got to a point to where the band was like, Marshall, I don't know what you got going on up north, but you need to move in, you need to take the risk, and we need to just make music together. So I move in with the band. We all get our COVID test, yada, yada, yada. And when I say move in with the band, I'm sleeping on the band's couch. So now their living room is basically my bedroom. I'm moving with the band. It's been about a week. We decide to book a live stream show at the High Dive because we're like, all right, whatever. Like, I guess this is just how life is as musicians now. The best thing we can do is do a live stream. And so I move in with the band. We do the live stream. I don't know if you've seen it, Caleb, but we blew up a bunch of different balloons. We printed out Seattle people's faces and we taped them onto the balloons. I got the heavy stock paper, so it made the balloon droopy. If I would have just gone with the light stock, it would have been fine. But I insisted to cost myself more money and also be at my own detriment, which is just, how things go when you don't have a team. And, I'm trying to work fast here to kind of update y'all. So that occurs. We get some great response. People are like, oh my gosh, this is the best live stream we've ever seen. Like, thanks for having me at your live stream. Because remember, we put balloons with people's faces on it, like 300 different people. And then boom, George Floyd situation happens. Everybody, everyone remembers where you are when this thing happened. And I'm just sitting there like scratching my head, like, how do I fit into all of this? I was honestly just depressed, shocked, in pain, like really going through every single emotion, feeling helpless. And so I went out to the protest and like, it just wasn't my personal vibe. Like, I can't get angry and yell for 3 or 4 hours. I was feeling angry, but it's just not how I personally get down. So I went home just kind of feeling sad and being like, yo, I don't know if the protest, like, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know how I can make my voice heard here, but I'm as upset as everybody. It's just not my lane. And then I was watching the live streams instead of going out to the protest. Man, I just seen a guy right here in Venice Beach do about 100 going down a side street. You gotta love California. But so I'm like, dang, how do I possibly get my impact on here? And I saw Mari Salisbury, who, a lot of y'all know from the Seattle area. If you're not from the Seattle area, there's an independent media company called Converge Media. And Converge Media hadn't even really, it was a thing, but Amari at that time preferred to use his personal Facebook because it got more traction than Converge Media, which is now a very well established media company. This is all within a span of 7 months ago, So
I was going to say,
right.
just well, if we extend that out to when we first met, which is I guess 14 months ago, it's like we're living on a different planet.
It's not the
So
same,
much
and
change.
you can hear it with me. Like, I obviously, as a black male that's been writing conscious hip hop music, you could see how I was not necessarily hiding my themes, because I had a song called Black Panther. I got songs talking about the Watts riots and these things, but they're embedded within the fabric that is martial law band, right? And that was just because at that time, in the way that the world was working, it's like an album like 12th and Pine doesn't even seem conceptually realistic because people don't want to hear it, and we're trying to be a successful band. And so at that time we had to weave all these themes of, hey, this is going on with me and my friends. Meanwhile, someone like JMO the Bird or Poe Box, who are vocalists in the martial law band, their cousins, their good friends are dying in circumstances. Again, like, I'm not on this particular situation, I'm not trying to dive in too deep. It's okay for people to have however opinions, but every single circumstance that people that I know that are passing away in with police, it's enough to objectively raise an eyebrow in. It's enough to say, dang, wait, how did JMO's friend have handcuffs on, but then somehow end up shot? Like, once he has handcuffs on, shouldn't that be kind of the end of it? But these are the situations that are happening with me pre George Floyd, so I'm writing music, shouting out these situations before this ever happened. So boom, George Floyd occurs, the protests occur, and I'm looking around. Amari, he has on his personal Facebook, he has 8,000 people on his personal Facebook watching his live stream of the front lines of the protest at the eastern barricade at 11th and Pine. So I'm sitting there in my bed just watching this. I'm like, dog, this is insane. This regular human civilian has 8,000 people watching their live stream. Like, obviously, this is a huge moment. And something happened, and he got pepper sprayed. And Amari, who's like 6'4", big, strong guy, could probably play linebacker. He's over here crying like I got pepper sprayed 3 days in a row. And he just asked, I remember it felt like a direct call out. He just asked, like, where's the leadership? And, that was tough for me to hear because I'm sitting in my bed, warm, comfortable, and I view myself as a leader. I view myself as a community leader. I'm speaking up on Ahmaud Arbery. I'm speaking up on these situations. And it just felt like, I got to find a whole crew. We got a whole crew. Oh my gosh. Dang, they're popping wheelies too. You got to love California, baby. Oh my goodness. Oh, hell yeah.
So for those listeners that don't know what's going on, Marshall is down in LA.
Can they hear it?
He's a Seattle area kid, and he's just marveling at what LA is like.
Yes,
so
sir.
I want to drop in here the real news video
Uh-huh.
and show people a sense of the music. And this is the opening track on the 12th and Pine album. And then let's come back and we'll take a little back step on how 12th and Pine came about, which you were just about to hit. And so hang tight, and we'll be right back. This is Real News by the Martial Law Band.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have an important, urgent announcement. Cannonball! Dear son, yeah, I seen you on the big screen. CNN smiling with them big dreams. I hope you don't lose faith in yourself. I raised you to play the cards that you were dealt. I'm sorry, mama, Ivy League dropout, yet my peers all proud of me. Backpackers crowning me, I'm on like the Justice League. Ulysses on an Odyssey. Homer hit a homer, now they speak on the team globally. I guess it's just the prophecy. Hate it, don't bother me. Understand, expand, rubber band. Trauma, go around, snap, damn, back again. Ceiling fan, my name stays swirling around the room. Hootie hoo. Randy treat the band like the boys bulletproof. Son, here go the teachings of Sun Tzu. Art of war, point the ops out, we'll rip through. Receipts, we need proof. Pledge allegiance to who? Nah, me, I need truth. Me, I need truth. So what I tell them? No, I don't need CNN or Fox News. Nah, no, I need truth. That's all I need. That's all. No, I don't need CNN or Fox News. Nah, me, I need proof. That's all I need. That's all. The power's in the people in the streets. We brought they policies all down to their knees. Yeah, that's true. We don't need that budget. Yeah, that's true. Make it about what's black and what's white when you should really report what's wrong and what's right. Stop trying to play us like it's just left or it's right. We know there's more to decide. We put our lives in this fight. Press, thanks for the coverage, but we gotta change the subject. Please stop putting us against each other. I know we all got more in common. There's no need to be dishonest, just to lie some more dollars in your pockets. But yeah, you got options when your platform is popping. Chop, your edits turn my city into Gotham. Sensationalize our problems. Now I'm in the mirror like what happened? Still it's light, camera, action, no backtracking. Cause me, I need action. No, I don't need CNN or Fox News. Nah, no, I need truth. I need it. No, I don't need CNN or Fox News. Nah, me, I need proof. I need it. The power's in the people in the streets. We brought they policies all down to their knees. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Conflict between
protesters and
in the wake of recent protests.
Violent clashes with police.
They shot me and the medics couldn't get a pulse.
We are here with Marshall Hugh of the Martial Law Band. That was Real News, the opening track on their landmark album 12th and Pine. We were just discussing the background of how Marshall and I met, what the vibe was when we met, of where stuff was going down and people were having to couch what they said. And Martial Law Band is a feel-good, entertaining band, and having to kind of weave messages in there. And then George Floyd happens, and it's like, this is not in a back alley. This is right there. Like, nobody can deny what's going on. And yet, as we saw after that, there was still this denial that came back in. And to me, Real News is really about that, where no matter how real, how visceral, and how terrible something is, there is a capacity in our media to try to turn that into entertainment. So how did you're seeing all this stuff going on. How did you navigate that water between I'm entertainment and this is serious shit, and what's my role in it? And I think 12th and Pine, the actual location, was a big breakthrough for you in that, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you see me kind of shake my head and smile because it's something that you still go through, right? Because when you see Amari out there screaming for help, right? A lot of people wouldn't think, okay, let's send a band, our feel-good hometown band, to go help him. But I was looking around like, okay, but if I don't help him, who is going to help him? Like, because the guy is on live stream with 8,000 people crying for some help in a situation where he has been pepper sprayed day in and day out, in a situation that I had already gone and witnessed and been like, I don't know if that's for me. I went out there and looked, and then the next day I chose to stay home. So, and I was so revved up, Caleb. I went out there. I told all the leaders. I went and got their blessings. I said, look, I'm coming out here with my band. Is that okay? Is that defocusing? What is that? They said, we want to create as much attention around this issue as we can create it. So Marshall, if you believe that coming out here with your band is going to create more attention, is going to get more people, going to get more eyes, and going to positively serve the movement, if that's how you feel in your heart, Marshall, and I'm getting this from leaders. I don't want to name drop because what we're trying to create is a unilateral leadership movement, right? So that if, God forbid, like happened with MLK, Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, one of our leaders gets assassinated, we then aren't in a position to where the movement is all messed up because there's decentralized leadership. So as someone that's in the know, prior towards going out, this is way before pre-chop, I know who the leaders are. I go to those leaders, 5, 6, get their blessings. Next thing you know, I call the boys, I call Matt, and I say, hey, we pulling up. We're bringing the band. Let's do this. And so what ensued, a lot of people, especially if you're from Seattle, and even if you're not from Seattle, you've heard of CHOP, this Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, where it was free from cops and whatnot. But what you don't understand is that situation was forged in a police brutality standoff at that barricade of 11th and Pine that Amari was crying for help. Day in and day out, the police set up a barricade. Protesters would come and be there. And then we decided to set up our band right here, 1 block away in this alleyway, to kind of where our band is situated, where there's mutual aid on this side. There's saline over here, there's food for everyone. So it's really funny because I was talking to one of my friends about this, is that it really, because the police put their barricade right there at 11th and Pine, it created literally a festival type atmosphere where each day people would choose to come. Everyone's congregating, everyone's texting their friends throughout the day, and they're meeting at this set location. And then on the block that we're on, we have food, we have mutual aid, we have medics, we have security, and now you have the martial law band. And so we got out there and we saw how appreciative the people that had been there the previous 3 days were to have something positive. Music, and we're playing revolutionary music, not just our own music. We have J-Mo the Bird singing Bob Marley. We have any type of music throughout the years. Change Gonna Come blasting, and we're the ones singing it. And in between, we're having speeches, and other people, the community members, come up and say their piece. And there's a lot of things that you can say on the stage that you can't, or through music, that you can't say in the middle of a protest on a bullhorn, or when you're at that. It's like a rugby scrum where police are holding the front line and other regular civilians, and these civilians come from all walks of life, are physically pushing against the police in this rugby scrum. And what they're trying to do, the police or the protesters are trying to move past. They're literally just trying to move past the police precinct, and the police are trying to hold the line. It's a very crazy situation. And here we are playing music. And so what we would tell people is, hey, get water, get food, bring a smile, bring energy, bring a water bottle into the front lines, give someone who's been there for 4 or 5 hours dehydrated in the middle of summer a break, tell them to sit down, tell them to relax. And we're trying to bring a calming element, something that's more restorative into this whole situation. So we play the first night, 4 hours. We're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. No pepper spray though. Everybody was okay. We play the second night, 4 hours. My voice is starting to, and no violence. Play the third night, 4 hours. My voice, and I'm out here begging other musicians, like, please, come on. Like, I need your help. But it was just something, again, it doesn't make sense, I guess, for some people to have music there. When you're on there at the ground level, it makes sense. But when you're seeing it through your screen, maybe it doesn't make sense. So we couldn't get a lot of other musicians there. I Am Shamel came out, Maya Marie came out. And then later on, we had people like King Youngblood and a couple other people jump into the situation. So anyway, the third night, no violence, everything's good. And then people are starting to say like, yo, like, is the music being there? Like, is it detrimental? Because some people, again, we want confrontation because we want change. So then the fourth day, that kind of threw all that out the window because we were playing and the police brought out the pepper spray, brought out the rubber bullets, started arresting people, and it became an inflection point for us where we decided, okay, are we going to stay here and play, or are we packing up and going home? And we played through that. And the people kind of created this barricade. It was like this central hub where people are still protesting police brutality, are still meeting and clashing with police at this eastern barricade at 11th and Pine. But it's also this thing where, like, we're not going anywhere. And so the next day occurs, and that's when Dan Gregory, who's referenced in the music, Hometown Hero, he actually gets shot at one of these protests from an errant car driving into a protest and shooting him in his shoulder. Wild situations. This story could take an hour, so I don't want to dive too deep in. Basically, Dan Gregory situations occur. That sparks the day where they quote unquote call it the Battle of the Hill, where, when I'm telling you, they brought in a tank, they brought in the National Guard, they brought in a Bearcat. And honestly, the people of Seattle just decided, no matter what you bring, we're going to stay here. And so we decided we're going to stay here and play music for people. So the Battle for the Hill, or whatever, the night before the police evacuated the police precinct, and CHOP was a place that was safe enough to be occupied, was insane. We played till 3 a.m, all different type of tactics. This is where, you get into people talking about different sects and different groups within the revolutionary movement. You hear words like Antifa being thrown around, and you look. I saw on that night when a National Guard tank was bearing down, there was a bunch of people dressed in black that were holding the line and were putting their own bodies at risk for me to be able to continue to play on the stage while that was occurring. I don't know what affiliation those people have, if they had it any, but they were dressed like the same people you see drugged through the mud on the media nowadays. And those were the people at 2 a.m. where the police were still going. the 500 or 600 people that stayed out there and held the line while we dodged rubber bullets and played throughout tear gas throughout till 3 a.m. And I promise you, we're playing this song, Black Lives Matter, that we made up on the streets. That's our second album. And out of nowhere, about 3 a.m, and 500 people all lighting dumpsters, doing whatever they can, getting arrested to stop the police from working their way down. They had a tank. I'm not making this up. They had a tank that was coming, and it turned around while we were playing the music, and we all just rejoiced. And the next day, the police, for whatever reason, I believe it was because they threw a flashbang grenade and it hit a woman in the chest, a white woman in the chest named Abrea. She actually died, and our medics literally revived her. You can hear this in our music, Ain't Enough. I detail this story. They revive her. And so the police were like, this is terrible publicity that we're out here flashbanging and hitting 5 to 120-pound white women in the chest with flashbangs. This is bad. And so they vacated the space. But because we had been there for the last 6 days in a row dealing with it, there was nowhere else for us to go. The people were already meeting there. And so I can go into other stories about barricades and all this and how the actual geographical situations were set up. Those are precursors to CHOP. But anyway, we set up some barricades, and next thing you know, the police vacated. The next scare was the Proud Boys coming. And I guess we defended ourselves by any means necessary. The boys showed up, we played again. And after that, it was just on and running, man. CHOP, as they call it, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or Occupied Protest, began. And, a lot of other stuff ensued after that. But basically, the crux of our experience and what we wrote about on 12th and Pine was for those 6 days in a row of us playing before it was safe for artists to come out there, before it was safe to have Black commerce and meetings. And so, that was by far the craziest thing I've ever gone through in my life. It was the hardest thing to process, which we did. We went out to Guimas Island for 5 days, wrote the album as a band, just all of us, anyone that was involved, 7, 8 of us, 9 of us, I can't really remember. We all went out there to Guimas Island. We wrote the album. We went directly from the ferry to Soundhouse Studios in Ballard with Jack and Dino. And that's a wild story in its own, how we even got connected with Jack and Dino. And we laid down the album in 4 days. And then we mixed it and mastered it and went through all the rigmarole for Caleb knows 3 months or whatever.
It's a hell of a process to make an album, and you guys did that incredibly fast to capture what your lives just went through. I want to play the video for Black Lives Matter to show folks what CHOP kind of looked like to you versus what they may have saw on the news channels, right? And, someone in some small town in Idaho has one idea of what it looked like. And I love the fact that with 12th and Pine as an album, you give people the opportunity to see another perspective on all of it. So let me play the Black Lives video, music video, and then I'd love to come back and hear how the album finally got produced with Jack.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Hearing the flowing on to all the single mothers fighting God to stay strong. This is a purpose. The reason reason why we'll never be perfect. Look under the surface to seek and find an enemy lurking. They steady berserking, but you know that I'm still gonna be working. Don't you know? Have you heard? Need to understand. Don't you know? Need to understand. Got to learn Black lives matter. 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 Black lives.
That is Black Lives Matter, and that was filmed at the shop in Seattle last summer as Martial Law Band played. To watch the complete video, check out Martial Law Band on YouTube and go look at the official channel. So YouTube/C/Martial Law Band. For folks that don't know, official channels get a little /C/ so you can find all the official channels of your favorite bands if you do that. There is a blues band with the same name. There's a British metal band with Martial Law, but you'll know Martial Law Band official by a yellow M that actually works as a M and an L. So when you ever see that logo, you know you got the right guys. So you're out there for 5-6 days. People are being killed. People are being shot. People, it's very real. And then you're like, wow, these are just people who don't want to be brutalized, and they're standing up against brutality. And then you turn on the news, and it's a completely different story coming at you. And real news really addresses that. The Black Lives Matter movement kicks off as a part of all this over the summer. And, it existed before that, but it went from being a movement to being a national consciousness, right? So now you're dealing with the whole community of the United States saying, how do I fit in with this? Okay, I'm not black. Does this apply to me? And da-da-da-da. And people are going, brutality is brutality, man. Murder is murder. We're going to say no to both of those things. So once you get it down to that bottom human right for happiness and the expectations we have in this country for individual freedom, and you decide, and you all decide to go put yourselves in that kind of situation as musicians and performers. That's a big thing. Like, it's one thing to sing about something, it's one thing to talk about something, and it's another thing to be in the middle of the firestorm. So this happens, it has this huge impact on you, and you guys, and then it ends, right? And you guys go away and say, what just happened to us, and how can we share that experience with more people? People who weren't there, people who couldn't be there. And you made the 12th and Pine album. So you go away, you're on the island, you're writing this. And then what was the next thing that happened?
Wow. I mean, honestly, Caleb, just hearing you say, man, that's why I'm so thankful to have Caleb in, because number one, we would never have the official Martial Law Band YouTube channel if it wasn't for Caleb. I'll tell you that right now. We have at least, this is where he talks about I'm a network guy, right? So I have made contact with the other Martial Law Band, and we're all good. It's all love. I just told him, like, yo, bro, go do your thing. And he said, hey, I see you, it helps. He's a brother too. He's big, swole too. If you ever look up the other Martial Law Band, this guy be in the gym, no doubt about it. But he's he's super cool. I gave him a call one time and he said, "Hey, young blood, it's all good. Go do your thing." And
Nice.
I said the same thing to him, so it's just cool. I haven't been able to contact the British people, but they seem like they're off of it. And we actually promote the other martial law band. He hasn't done the same to us, but we promote him. So again, without Caleb in my life, these little minute details, like how could I have known? And then, you talk about,
When I just try to describe a little bit, we've started like the first 10 minutes of the show, or 50 minutes in. I have a nice little sequence. We're going to talk about this. We're going to show this video.
Sorry, man.
But no, because the story is important. And as a moderator, I always have to say, oh, do I jump in, cut off the guy? And because I'm going to stick to showing the videos. But at a certain point, that's just entertainment. Anybody can go up to YouTube and watch the videos. But hearing your story and what is behind the videos and is the thing that you're bringing that other people wouldn't otherwise have access to. So not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Just a funny story. So one of my sisters contacted me, and she go, "Oh, you're working with Martial Law Band," and she's like, "Well, I met this other guy in town, and he has a martial law band." And I said, "Well, just don't tell him that I'm working with the other guys until I find out if it's okay."
Oh, you heard.
Small world. Small world.
And we got tell him we want to do a collab. Tell him we gonna bring him on stage. We'll do martial law band squared. It's all love, man.
Man, this is what I love about you guys, because that's the mindset. A lot of artists will be like, "Oh, there's another band with my name, and how do I sue them?" and blah blah. And you're like, "Man, let's do a collab album."
Right? Come
Bring
on,
it on.
man.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I assume the guy's name is Marshall, and honestly, I could get some gym regiment tips from him. So I got nothing but positive things to say about the country blues martial law band. So you were asking, I mean, obviously, like you said, to go into the fire, to really go in it, that's something that, one, it's really hard to communicate. And even if I give you the most visceral album in the world, it really can't. You got to see it. You got to be there. So that connection that was with all the people that were there, that was really the crux of the album. And what we wanted to do when we got away to Guimas Island to write it is that we wanted to keep the momentum of the movement going. And we didn't want to let down those people that were there, that like sat down in front of our stage. Like, you're either going to arrest all 60 of us, or martial law bands, like, we're going to keep playing. Because that's what I told him. I'm like, look, I don't care because again, this is where it gets so real, y'all. The day we went out there, my mom hit me and she said, "Marshall, I'm so proud of you. And I got bail money for whoever gets arrested." Like my own mom hit me saying that, dog. And like, I get emotional even thinking about it, because like once you get your family support, everything else becomes like so not important. Like once you have your core support, everything else, it doesn't matter. It could be you against the whole world, as long as like your mom's ready to bail you out and believes in what you're doing, So when we had that emotion, everybody's like, okay, we want to do it for the people that also have that level of commitment, who's other people, family members hitting them like, "I believe in you," And then so when it was like over, quote unquote, we're like, dude, what, like, do we just let these people down? How do we keep what we're doing? So that's the energy that we went to the album with, like, or went to Guimas Island with, like, kind of frantic. Like, we can't leave these people out there fighting the fight that we committed to fight with them without something to inspire them. But we also realized, like, yo, I can't do 6-hour sets for 6 straight days. Like, when I tell y'all, I don't even know how I was speaking. Like, I don't know how. I couldn't talk in regular conversation like how we're having now. But then when it came to the performance, I was just saving everything. So I'm chugging, like I'm getting massages. I'm getting massages to go out there and perform on the street. So, with that level of conviction, we didn't want to let anybody down. We go out there, like, we all get together in like a group huddle before we even start writing. And then we're just like, yo, like, we've been on CNN. They called me Chaz Marshall of Antifa. Like, we could have died. Like, whatever we want to say, however we want to do it, we're going to do it in this album. This is before we wrote anything. and we just dedicated ourselves to that. Had a weird 5 days, like it's hard when you make that type of like personal dedication. Musicians, if anyone's a musician, what type of things you go through to just mentally try to unlock yourself enough to be able to comfortably express yourself at that visceral of a level. So, we're hitting the yoga. I'm reading all type of beginner mind, Zen mind, crazy stuff. We write the album. We're all looking at each other like, wow, I think we did it, but like, how do we know if we did it or not? Because of course, we all like our own stuff. And then let's see, we get off the ferry, we go right into Jack and Dino's studio, and Jack and Dino, those of y'all that don't know, he's like the person who recorded Nirvana's first album, or a lot of early Sub Pop stuff, Mudhoney, Alice in Chains, that type of stuff. But he hadn't been like as, I guess, prevalent and relevant in the scene. He worked with Black Tones, he worked with Barax, but it wasn't like some front street like I'm working with Jack and Dino. It's like, this is just my engineer. So we intentionally went in like, yo, if this guy could capture Kurt Cobain's first thing, then he knows the type of pain we're coming into with, so this is the guy, this is the dude. And we just told him like, bro, don't bleed us dry, but we're all putting up our life savings. Marty, God bless Marty's heart, bless Matt, they're not like the rest of the band. We're bought in. Like, I can do a lot of stuff for you, but I'm not going to be able to give you 20 G's or however it got to go to make a play, And so the band as a human collective said, okay, we'll step up, whatever it takes to record the album, we will pay to make it happen. So that way Jack just knew we were serious.
Did someone know Jack to start that conversation? I mean,
do you want to hear that story?
Well, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, for folks,
there's so many, there's so much that goes into our band before this album that I don't want to go too far left, or else that could be the segment. So if you want to hear that story, I'd love to tell you that story.
Interview. I'm just kind of giving folks a sense of how intense and how fast all this has happened, and that every moment of watching you and Matt is incredible, because you guys every 5 minutes are making a new connection, are following a new thread or a new thought of how to move your band and your art forward. And it's incredibly intense. And so to try to encapsulate that, we're not going to be able to do that in an hour show. We'll have more you back on for deeper stuff. But I want to give people the sense of the Seattle area and how connections here work. Because I think it's unique. It's very different than LA and San Francisco. So Jack, back in the 90s, Nirvana, Soundgarden, he's got all this street cred for the grunge movement and whatnot. And I've heard his name, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, he just produced their album. And you guys, when I started working with, had 4 singles self-released on and with typos and whatnot. So you went from that being your musical presence, to working with Jack and having an album that's up for a Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
All in months.
Come on, and see, and Caleb, when the kid that approached you talking about, hey, work with me. The craziest thing is, Caleb, bro, that don't even surprise me, the thing you talked about, bro, because I thought I should have already had the Pulitzer, bro. When I approached you, it's just because of how intense my life is. As you mentioned, like, I'm always in the pressure cooker. I enjoy being in the fire. I enjoy sprinting. I just it's just who I am. It's how I'm my fabric is. So listen to this. You ready? So this goes back. Can I tell you a little story?
Yeah.
Give me I got 5 minutes or something to tell the story.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so check this out. So when before I was a band, like I mentioned, me and Marty, we had lived together. He told me after a year of us living together that he was in a band. I'm like, what, bro? We just been partying and kicking it on Greek Row after, I was on this solo music mission. Like, I didn't even know you had a band. So I went to Dante's, which has since burned down and this is how intricate connections are in Seattle and what it takes, right? So we go to Dante's, which is a bar that ironically burned down, but Dante's is famous because that's where Ted Bundy used to hang out back in the day. So my
Okay.
band, right? I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. You look up Dante's, I'm not trying to hide it. So the band is the house band at Dante's. And so I walk in there and I just the boys, they had a choice. They could either get $200 at the end of the night to split up, or they could put $200 back into the restaurant, right? And so they would just get, of course, easy choice for the boys. They're getting beer, nachos, all this. So they're playing for free. I come in, I play with them. Of course, you got the LA ghetto bird, as you call them. I'm getting really used to helicopters flying by. But so I go and I play with them, and I realize, like, okay, this solo stuff ain't nothing compared to when I perform with a band. This is what I want to do. So I go away for a year. Basically, I actually, before that, I do a couple solo shows where I hire the band. I think I give them like $200 or something. 5 of them show up. At that time, we had a different drummer, but everyone else is the exact same, right? Everyone else is the exact same, minus a different drummer. This is 5 years ago or something like that. And so I would hire them. I would play shows at the Bear Project. I would put up my own money, rent out the thing for the night, and then I would have the band come, and then I would get all my friends from up north to drive down and say, oh, I got a Seattle show. And this was how I was trying to crack into the Seattle scene as a solo artist. Then I'm like, oh, this isn't working. So what I did instead is I went away and I developed, this is what we're going to talk about in the after show. I developed what is quote unquote the hip opera, right? So basically I knew I wanted to have the band, but I knew that I couldn't just come at it like everyone else who had a band, because that had been done before. So I want to come at it from like a theatrical standpoint. This is before Hamilton, mind you. This is genuinely before Hamilton, no lie. Okay. This has nothing to do with Hamilton. I'm like, it's got to be a play. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a play. Hold on. Did this make it better or worse? What do you think?
Man, always a performer. You're working on your lighting.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's just like, I don't know if it's
no. Oh, that's kind of cool, actually. You got your stage lighting in the car. So for folks wondering what might be going on, is Marshall is touring around helping promote some music, and so he's down in the LA area making connections. Now you were born and raised in the Seattle area, right?
Yeah. So my dad's from South Central LA. My mom's from Tucson. Moved up here after going to Lewis and Clark College, and then they had 3 kids. So me and my 2 older sisters. And so we were raised about 20 minutes outside of Seattle in Mill Creek, Washington. And then I went to O'Day High School, which is right there, 7 blocks from 12th and Pine. And so I've always played sports in the town and whatnot. But I'm a Northwest kid through and through. And so yeah,
you're trying to break into this Northwest now. Right now, you're breaking the LA scene. You're at this next
Yeah.
level, and we're dialing it all the way back to when you're just trying to break into Seattle. Because I moved up here a year and a half ago, and I must admit I was a little shocked at how it's not an easy place to walk into as a stranger. Let's just say
No,
that
we
you got to
don't.
know people, you got
Yeah.
to connect with people, and everybody's in their own little clique, and this clique is got daggers out for that clique, and I'm just like, whoa, who are you people? Go get therapy or something. I don't know, man, because
Yeah,
the Frisco
no.
Bay Area, it's like,
Hey,
you're talking to someone, there's someone famous, you talk to someone, he's, living on the street, and you all get together and go to the same karaoke bar together. It just, there isn't this sort of sense of, it's there as everywhere with human goes, but here it's a whole nother level. So, okay. So you're trying to say,
yeah.
look, I'm going to be a presence in Seattle, and how do I crack this nut?
Exactly. And the way you describe it is so funny, because this place is the most, just like the people, if you hear people from New York or LA that move out to Seattle or Cal, they're like, you guys are just so passive aggressive, you cut people off and then you won't look at them. And the music scene is anything you do, just like the basketball, whatever the vibe is of the city, the systems in place will embody that vibe. So let me tell you, the Seattle music scene is one of the most clicked up, one of the most, if you haven't been here for 6, 7 years, And it's because it's so hard to make money here that the artists that are, 34, 35, 36, 37, getting into that, okay, actually I can actually leverage my 7 or 8 different music jobs in the scene to carve out a living. They know what they went through to get there. Like, you guys are just hearing a fraction of my story. I'm out here talking like a war veteran. So you're not really trying to have somebody come in out of nowhere that's all wet behind the ears and disrupting an ecosystem that you've been a part of for 7 or 8 years. But what happens as a result of that is that the scene doesn't quite have the energy that it needs, right? Because you need old blood, you need new blood, you need it all. You need drama, you need everything. You look at the major markets that work, there's people spending money, and then there's also a product that's worth spending money on. Right now, I don't know, a lot of people, I'm a basketball coach, a basketball player. I go back to basketball references. It's almost like there's a shot up and we're all boxing out to see, okay, is Macklemore going to make this shot again? Or is the rebound going to bounce off and only one of us can grab this ball? That's really how our mentality, that's genuinely the Seattle mentality. Other people can say, oh, it's not, but it is.
When I first moved here, and I encountered this, I went up and looked at the statistics, because to me, it's all about human beings behave really on 2 patterns: geography and statistics. And if you know the 2 and you look at the physical landscape people exist in, it explains a lot. And then you look at the numbers. And the numbers I found was like the amount of musicians in the Seattle area are like near Nashville level. But there's very little music business in Seattle. Yeah, there is, and there's some famous ones, but it is small. So you just have musicians tripping over each other, like you said, to get a gig. And if you're coming into that and thinking that you're going to get a free ticket, think again. So
yeah, I mean,
exactly what you're saying. It's like there's a lot of hungry people.
Yeah, a lot
and only
of people,
a few
I
meals.
guess. Yeah, the term in our like culture and stuff is like, it's not sweet out here. You're not about to just pull up and do whatever you want and gung ho and jump in all this thing that we got going on. And honestly, I've probably been the biggest proponent, at least in the hip hop sphere, of being like, yo, everybody, let's work together. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And honestly, that gets met with mixed reviews. I'm not gonna lie to you. I put together 5 or 6 independent festivals where I myself came out of pocket. My homies came out of pocket. We put it up, and by the skin of our teeth, we made $200 at the end of the night, and martial law band spent it on tequila at the bar. And we put 40 different artists on stages because of that. Like, okay, let's break this Seattle freeze. Let's break this bubble. But it does come down to, man, we've been through a lot out here, and the money, the Amazon money, does not trickle to the artists. We don't have dental, we don't have health, we don't have the people and the players that are making the moves, and then the people that do finally make it out as a result of this crab in the bucket and this gauntlet you have to run. Once they make it out, they're like, wait, you want me to come back, give you all of my money I just earned, put my whole stake and reputation on the line with all of the people in power that have allowed me to get to this position, to pull the rug of whatever tiny money they're making to keep their lights on. And it just isn't something that's popped yet. And that's been my goal. That's been my dream. I know I'm capable of it. It's gotten me in some trouble in the past, maybe speaking too soon, these type of things. But I'm a dreamer. I'm not somebody that likes the status quo,
I just want to take a moment to commend you for that, because it's not just your music. We haven't even talked about your actual activism, both with the basketball kids, with the book donations, with the clothing donations. You reach out to communities who are doing all this work and help give them a voice. Like at CHOP, bringing a stage where it's entertainment. It's not just protest in your face. It's entertainment where everybody can enjoy themselves and they can, ease themselves into hearing the message, perhaps. That kind of collaboration just opens up a lot. And the fact that you're doing it is huge, because most people won't. But the fact that you're doing it in this Seattle freeze environment is huge, and I just want to give you an on-air shout out for just keep doing it. Don't ever change that, because that, I think after over a year of working with you, outside of everything, that is your magic power, superpower. And so, yeah.
Dang, well, it's nice to hear because sometimes it does kind of feel like a fruitless mission and those type of things. But hey, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be, and what I like to describe it is being transparent on the way up the ladder, right? And if I wanted to, I could take Caleb, your wealth of knowledge. I could take all my homies around me and their knowledge, and we could just go up on our own and we could get our guarantees from the venue, and we could potentially be out of here, or 5 years later have to go get real jobs like other musicians in the past. But it's just not what we want to do and what we want to see happen. We want to see infrastructure established. We want to be transparent on our way up the ladder so other people can follow the blueprint, and we have more money than Nashville. There can be 80, 90, 100 of my friends, my peers that are signed by major record labels, that are getting the interest, that are getting the money, that are able to feed their families off of our passions and our careers. But until we adapt that collective mindset, it's going to be extremely difficult. And so as a result, what I've settled to is I'm just gonna have to overwhelm it. Like, if you can't do this by just convincing people of a blueprint and a plan, then you're going to have to bring the money, bring the resources, bring the fame to the Northwest, and put people in a position to where they can capitalize on it and see it as a real reality and what collaboration can do for a community and a scene. The Northwest is just forgotten about. We're just this whole little upper corner that the rest of the world hasn't heard our story yet. We could tell that story right now in this generation with our free thinkers, but the collaboration amongst the arts community is just not there. But once you know the history, you see why it's not there. You see why you don't want to just willy-nilly give somebody an opportunity, because who knows if they're taking it as seriously as you, and you're trying to feed your family with your art. So I'm one of those people that has made the lifelong plunge, has committed myself to either being homeless or a musician, and also has my family and everybody's expectations weighing on me. And I'm going to take the sacrifice of being transparent and running the gambit. And whatever happens, but I got a good squad around me, and I got a lot of energy. So, but yeah, that Seattle freeze is no joke, man. That thing comes from every single angle. And that's why I try to switch it. I said, okay, instead of it being the Seattle freeze, let's get our orientation smarter, and let's move to a regional thing. Let's get this thing Northwest. Let's get Spokane involved. Let's get Portland involved. Let's get Tacoma involved. Let's get Everett involved. Let's get, these ancillary cities that might not feel that Seattle freeze and that Seattle pride. And let's get the region respected, and let's get the region put on. So that's been my focus over the last 3 months. It's like, all right, instead of it making it this Seattle thing, because the freeze is a real thing, and I just broke down why it is a real thing. Let's make it regional, because there's enough energy and synergy there, to hopefully just highlight the biggest city within the region, that type of thing.
And I'm going to play the louder video because I think it really encapsulates all of that. What you're bringing to that energy. And, these aren't extra, these are friends all getting together, and different rap artists, writers, performers,
everybody.
Yeah, just
everybody. Videographers,
you put out the
people in the
call, and
streets,
everybody shows
everybody.
up, and it comes across like an LA produced music video on a major label. And this is just you guys on your own with a few friends, which is incredible. The professionalism, when you saw the Real News video at the beginning, that's like them and their friends, a few buddies, they're kicking down some dollars, and it looks like a major label production happening. And that is through your networking, and you are finding other people who have that love and that sense of giving, and you're collecting them around you. And I think the louder video shows that. So I'm going to play louder next, and then I want to talk about the hip hop opera.
Sounds good, brother, man. Yeah, we can do that. I got to let some people in their car and stuff. I've been holding them hostage outside.
You can let them in. We'll start the party. We'll show louder, and then they'll be part of the after party. It'll literally be a party in your car.
Okay,
of
let's
their
do
car.
it.
All right, here is Louder by Martial Law Band.
I'm black and proud. Say it now, say it loud. Heavy is my crown. I'm black and proud. I'm black and proud. Say it now, say it loud. Heavy is my crown. I'm black and proud. Let me introduce y'all to my family. Granddaddy went from slavery to the army. South Central LA, where he raised Randy, who taught me, son, cops don't play. Marshall just do, yeah, whatever they say. They power hungry and they just might spray. Just live to fight another day. You know good to nobody dead. So I remember one time I was doing just fine with the windows down, the seat on recline. Out the corner of my eye, saw some flashing blue lights, and I thought, God, I might die. Yeah, he came to my side, told me step outside, and I said, officer, why? He said to see if you got warrants. See, hatred is apparent even though you've never done a crime. Proud. 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 Woo! I'm black and proud. Say it now, say it loud. Heavy is my crown. I'm black and proud. I'm black and proud. Say it now, say it loud. Heavy is my crown. I'm black and proud.
Reason we defiant, cause the killers were compliant. I could break it to a science while we fighting with the law. Ain't no way to hide it, brutalize us and disguise it. And I pray they get the guidance, but we're writing on the wall. Kill us and you silent, and they kill us when we riot. Never listen, cause they bias when we all get along. See, we too divided, think we need to be united, cause there's too many dying at the hands of the law. Know the judge because of color black skin, leave all the reasons for passive. I know it kinda seems I'm hardly asking. Homie couldn't breathe on the concrete gasket. Too many mothers putting sons in the casket. Too many eggs, get a bigger basket. Too many sheep to sleep in the pasture. Too many prayers, gotta call another pastor. Too many beds, too many hooks. It's too many hooks. It's too many feds and they calling for backup. I need them to pack up, but we gonna act up. The streets so cold, those like Alaska. Call this rapping, call this passion, call this some action. I'm calling you capping. That's exactly why we stopping traffic. Brought in the traffic stop, sweaty blasting. All of the body cams turn plastic, targeted blackness. I'm black and proud. Say it now, say it loud. Heavy is my crown. I'm black and proud. I'm black and proud. Say it now, say it loud. Heavy is my crown. I'm black and proud.
This week's mystic moment is create and give. As I've been talking to Marshall Hugh about not only being creative, having your own ideas that you're putting out into the world, but then to invite others in to that platform and to give them that space. So in the Louder video that we just watched, you see all these runway moments, right? Where someone is being spotlighted. And it's very easy if you're a lead singer in a band, lyricist. You can be what the whole music is about, right? It's just about looking at you and your thing. And one of the things I love about Martial Law Band is they create this space where there's that presence, and then they all step aside and allow a friend to step into the middle of that and have a moment of voice, a moment of presence. So I'd like you to think this week, your challenge is to think about all you do in the world and see how you can give. My mom, who's a frequent listener to the show, recently did a piece for a niece of mine, and I thought that was a great example how she's creating, and now she's giving into the family of her work. So this is a shout out to her to keep doing her art, and let's keep working together to get that out. And that's some way that I can be creative and give to help her do more of that. So think of how you can do that in your life this week, and we'll see you again next week for the next Mystic Moment. Now, on to the after party.
The after party, you're gonna change the lights, like, how do I need to like get a drink? What does it mean for the after party?
Yeah, you got to loosen up. We got unzip our hoodie.
Okay, let's
get
get
more
the hoodie
casual. Oh,
loosened up.
you don't got one. Okay, well that's fine. I don't see how you're in Southern California with a hoodie on.
You know me, man. I'm so cold, bro. I gotta wear a hoodie. You know what I mean? I'm a cold dude. Y'all learned that about me. I'm a cold dude, bro.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me about it, Mr. Love. Speaking of which, if you want to check out more about Martial Law Band, is Marshall, MARSHALL, Law, LAW, Band, BAND, .love or .info. And so if you want to find out about them or sharing the love, go check out the website. It's a really cool website. All the videos I've been showing you have some link and featured from there. You can find the official YouTube channel where you can see all the music videos in full. There's a bunch of them now. I'm just showing you like little teasers. It's great stuff. And also the website in its own self is a really cool piece of art. And you can hear all the album tracks and read the lyrics, see photographs from Chop and all the events that led to the writing of those particular songs. So every song has its own page that showcases an image, words, to give you context of this project and how massive this is. And you can go up there and follow their Pulitzer Prize nomination for the 12th In Pine album and website and all the work that you've done around that. Now, having said all that, as if that isn't a huge enough bit, in the after party, we'll talk about a little more obscure things. So you got this major thing going on, life-changing of the last year. But before that, you did the same thing about creating and giving and opening up community by creating the hip hop opera in Seattle. I'm going to show the teaser, and we'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good.
What's up, bro? Let's go. What's happening? Boy, don't you think I'm ready? Don't you think I'm ready? What's up? Family on three. 1, 2, 3. Family!
With a text like girl, you fly as wet. And I can't lie, I'm down on my luck. I was thinking, babe, you can save the day. A superwoman, take my pain away. I'm waiting all day just to see you, honey. Even on the rainy day, you know you make it sunny. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. I got what you need.
So that was, well, you explain it.
I was sending you a message just to say, hey y'all, this was better than the beach. Thank you so much for having me on. And I was trying to send y'all some big ups, man. That's just how I'm always trying to work, man.
You are,
But
man. My mother says I'm a workaholic. She's like, "You're gonna die someday. You're gonna kill yourself." You're working. I'm like, I got nothing on Marshall, man. That guy he's like 24/7.
hey, when I die, I just want put my cell phone in my hands so I can make another play. Just that's all I ask. You know what I'm saying? Just bury me with my cell phone, and I might just got a chance. I might know somebody that could revive me or something. You know? But yeah. So anyway, the hip opera. I mean, I alluded to a little bit earlier about how just I wanted to find some way to splash into the scene that was different than just um splashing into the scene. Wait, now that I think about that, I never told you how I met Jack and Dino. Let me give you the quick version, just so because it kind of goes into this. So I wanted to splash into the scene with the hip opera, but I also wanted to like, well, maybe I should just get some other regular shows, you know? So I started emailing every single venue I could hear, didn't even get an email back. Just got like literally not an email back. So Caleb, like this is like before I even thought these things were possible. I'm like, you know what? Let's just make our own festival and then we'll headline our own festival. And then they'll be like, whoa, you guys headlined at that festival. And then I'll be able to book these places. That's literally what I thought. So I created this thing called Culture Fest and it was popping. Like 400 people showed up. We headlined it. People were asking me like, bro, how'd you get this gig? Like, this is a sick first gig. Like, you know? And
And you gotta be, I got a phone call. And
you got to
they
know
just invited
somebody
us.
to
It's
know
all good.
somebody in this town. Yeah, exactly. So I was just playing it off like, I don't know, man. It's just a blessing, you know? And so meanwhile, I'm texting all. And so Culture Fest is like, it's a fashion show, it's vendors, it's a community panel, and it's the concert. Cause I was like, if I just throw a concert, everyone's going to know that I just threw my own concert and headlined it ourselves. But if I add the models and I add the vendors and I add the community panel, then there's enough going on that I can sneak us in at the headliner, and then we could be the headliner of this community event, right?
And this
So
is the secret. This is the secret that everybody is wanting to figure out how to make money, how to make the music with it. And the secret is for it not to be about you,
yeah,
but for it
you
to
gotta
be
think.
about them, right? And then you create community, and then you can participate in that community. But when it's all just about you, you are isolated, and no one's gonna give a bull.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, you know, and now it's funny because this was my mindset way before the Chop and whatnot situation. When you have an interesting story like Chop obviously is, then it's like, okay, you might be able to operate a little bit differently. But when you're just another band amongst 1,000 other bands within a metropolitan area, what makes you so special? Pretty much nothing, unless you went and did some crazy stuff. But you know, that may not be, you know, that's not some that's some whole other left field thing. You can't bank on that occurring. But what you can bank on occurring is that there are always going to be musicians. There are always going to be photographers. There are always going to be videographers. There are always going to be models. There are always going to be blog people. There are always going to be podcast people. And if you can engage that whole creative network as a whole, it can create a swirl. And then that way you always have a blogger to go to. You always got a podcast to go to. You always got people for your video shoot. You always got background dancers, you know? You start building this catalog as a result of stacking your own event. So anyway, this event was held in Beacon Hill. This thing goes crazy, you know. People are starting to ask like, who put this together, so then it kind of backfired because I was like, damn, you know, like what's bigger, the band getting the notoriety for managing this, or the band and myself getting the notoriety for coordinating this community event that's getting praised. So I was just like, you know, honestly, let me just try to do both. So I said my homie put it on. And so my homie Muhammad, he would answer. This is just my friend too. I just hit him. I'm
You
like,
be the
bro,
spokesman. You be the face of
yeah,
this.
I literally hit him because he's smart enough.
That's
I'm
brilliant.
like, bro, I need your help. Like, I gotta keep up that the band got here. So how am I, like, you got this. So he would answer all the media calls for Culture Fest, and I would handle all of the martial law band stuff. And then he went on to just do college. He's like, bro, as much as I love you, I can't just keep answering these random calls for free like this. I have my own life. So anyway, Beacon Hill, we get really popular in Beacon Hill, and there is a Beacon Hill food forest. And so the Beacon Hill Food Forest reaches out to the martial law band because a Japanese tourist group is landing and they're responsible for showing them around, and they want to show them American culture, and they really want to show them the martial law band, but they're meeting at the Beacon Food Forest. So I go and I meet with this woman, Mia, and I'm like, I can't bring the full band, but I got Marty, my saxophone player, and I got Matt, my drummer. We could do maybe some acoustic stuff or, whatever, right? She's like, oh, sure, that'll be great. We pull up, we play, they have no idea what we're talking about, obviously. We play a 30-minute acoustic set, me, Marty, and this was back when Marty was drinking, so this is years ago. Marty's sober for 3-4 years now, so I can tell this story, and then so we chugged like some sort of IPA, chug a beer, go play for about 45 Japanese tourists who are just absolutely in awe of everything that we're doing. They're freaking out. We share a meal with everybody. We communicate through the translator. Beautiful experience. And at the end of the day, the woman, Mia, who I coordinated with, she goes and she says, hey, my husband is a sound engineer. I really like what you do. I promise you he won't waste your time. I say, all right, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm a rapper too. I'm also not a musician. So, and I wasn't as well versed in the scene. So I had no idea. She says, of course, my husband's name is Jack and Dino. I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? In my head, I'm just thinking like, okay, cool. Let me get to this next Voodoo Ranger I got over here in the car with Marty. So we go, it's been years. I'm talking about years. And this woman, Mia, probably periodically, quarterly, 7 or 8 different times, hits me up talking about, yo, are you ever going to hit my husband up? I showed him your music. I love it. This, and that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, God, this woman is persistent as can be. And I'm over here still in my own la la land, doing the festivals. And then the woman hits me up again. And again, her name is Mia, right? From the MK Ultra band, and a lot of people probably in Seattle know her. She hits me up again and she says, hey, I see what you're doing down there at CHOP. I am so proud of you. I showed my husband, and he insists that you call me, and that when you guys finally decide to make some music, you do it with Jack and Dino. And I'm like, you know what? After the 6th or 7th time, it clicks. I'm like, let me ask Josh if this guy is somebody, like if this is somebody we should be paying attention to.
The biggest name in producing in Seattle in the 90s, yeah.
And so I finally asked Josh, I'm like, yo, have you ever heard of Jack and Dino? He was like, yeah, duh, bro. He's like one of the biggest guys ever out here. I was like, oh, well, yeah, he's actually been really nice. I felt like an idiot. I really felt like, oh my God, I just kind of messed up for years. But again, these things don't happen until you're ready for them to happen. If Jack and Dino's producing all our music, I don't know what happens. But until it was ready, then the 12th and Pine thing was a no-brainer. We told him like, yo, we're gonna go write this album and then we're gonna meet you at the studio. And he was like, are you guys like, are you sure? Like, we're like, yep, we'll meet you there, Jack. And we called him Captain Jack, and that's how we got to meet with Captain Jack. But okay, so that's the story with Captain Jack. But again, to tell you about the hip opera, back when I was the Culture Fest thing, I wanted to do Culture Fest, then we did the hip opera. We rented out the Carco Theater in Renton because that was the only place that would even take us seriously as a theatrical act. We rented it out for back-to-back nights for $600. A man named Charles Roxon, who was a friend of my dad's, some sort of professor. He rented it out in his name. He put up the $600. We went back-to-back nights. Over 200 people came to both shows. And that was our first time getting King 5 media coverage. We had over 20 artists, including Scarlet Park, LaFonda, Nobi, who was featured on our album,
Yeah, he was
Marcus
on
G.
the Louder
Baby, all
video.
types of, Heather Thomas, who's a big Seattle artist. We had 20 different artists all come and be actors in our EP release, which was the hip opera. And that really that was the catalyst for being a collaborative unit every time we step out to do something big. And that set the stage for, I mean, Culture Fest really set the stage for the hip opera, which set the stage for things like the Emerald City Gala, which is a very coveted event here in the city, or Summer Splash Fest, which had over 1,500 people attend. And this is all before CHOP, like we've been in here
Before
working.
COVID, before CHOP, before.
Yeah. So that's how the hip opera came about. Basically, it was like, okay, how do I get into the scene? How do I do something different? I have to make my own festival. Okay, now I need to make my own, like, I need to get these other artists that would never otherwise post my music, even though they're my friends. I mean, these Scarlett, LaFonda, they're all my friends, but I can't count on them to push my music out to the masses. So
And
I
it's
had
not
to.
fair. It's
Yeah.
like my dad had an auto shop, right? And as soon as someone found out he was a mechanic, oh, can you come over and work on, take a look at my car and tell me what's going on? He's like, no, you bring it by the shop. That's my business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I get it.
So I just hired them all. I said I was bargaining with them $100, $200, made them drive all the way out to Renton and stuff. So I had about 30 different artists all in that thing, man. And that was kind of the catalyst for like, okay, we're going to do this collaboratively. We're going to do this amongst the scene. And, we're going to do things differently. So yeah, we had like 6 or 7 different scenes. One day I should send you, Caleb, we have a 360 video of the first night of the hip opera, actually.
Okay, I'd love to see that. I thought I saw a 360 thing recently, but a few friends have sent me a couple 360 things, so I may have dreamed it. I have very vivid dreams. When I wake up, I can tell you the city I was in, what we did that day. It's really crazy. Last
That
night
doesn't shock me at all, knowing
it
you.
was a town that a lot of curved streets, but it was on hills like San Francisco, but the architecture was all Bavarian German.
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe you're
because we were just out at the Bavarian town, Leavenworth.
Leavenworth. Yeah.
Leavenworth, doing some cross country skiing a couple weeks ago, so I had that on my mind. So, folks, anytime you wake up in the morning, or you're going through your day, and you say, "I'm bored," just watch this episode, right? Just like what you can do. Okay, no one's giving me any love. I'm in this free zone. Let's see. Let's just accept this gig, entertaining some Japanese tourists. We'll make it work. I can't even get my whole band together, but we'll just do something. And that leads to opening a door, that leads to opening a door. So being willingness to be there and engage, and then also be willing to make your own scene. Right. And here you are, you did the festival to basically give a forum for the band, and then that becomes a thing. And then you've built enough buzz that the TV station wants you on to talk. And at what point were you like, were you just like so rolling with it? You're like, not even thinking, and this is just what I need to do? Or were you like pinching yourself like, I'm on TV right now. What?
Oh man. So again, it's like the same thing where I mean, my pops. So like my sister,
we haven't even talked about
we didn't even talk
Papa
that's
Randy.
next episode, man.
That'll be a whole nother episode.
I'm trying to have a good night, but basically
no pressure. We're not going to bring any of the pressure.
Okay, thank you. My family.
This is after party. This is chill time. We already
right.
Did
it's time to
a
hang
big
out.
interview. You can talk about your childhood, all that. That'll have to be on next episode.
Thank you.
So you're doing all this, and I just also want to note that even though your name is the first name in the band, Martial Law Band, even with that and being the lead lyric writer and whatnot, one of the albums on 12th of Pine, Fairy Von Mother did the lyrics for. Nobi's on there. Chamel's on there. You guys, going way back, all the way to the hip-hop thing, you guys have continued to create space for other people. and to be a platform. And that's what that whole first Creative Fest was about. You were creating a platform sneakily for yourselves, but through that, you got into the habit of creating space for other people too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the key. And it's just different. Again, if you got some sort of crazy story to tell, if you got the sauce already from the jump, then that's your story. Just go and run with it, and people will gravitate towards us. If you're just amongst the crowd like everybody else, then what makes y'all special? Nothing. You have to find a way to make yourself special. And for me, I'm like, our scene is special. All these creative people I know are special. Let's highlight them. And as a result, they'll bring their people, and then my people can see their people. It's like common sense, to be honest. Collaboration is common sense, especially amongst creatives, but it's the ego that gets in the way of it. And then on top of that, the regional ego on top of the already artist ego, it's berserk. You know, it's insane.
If you ever decide to, I'm always bugging about keep your brand clean, right? Make sure it's consistent. I was teasing Marshall just the other day because he did a collab with these guys and they put him as Marshall Law, not Marshall Hugh, on the cover. I said, man, you can't have that. You got to make sure these guys release their covers exactly. And Bird just, I had a conversation there because a period is, when he did collabs, some people forgot the period, so it doesn't show up on the same Spotify. So I'm always like, guys, you got to be really consistent with this. But if you decide you want another alter ego, there's a guy, he would go by Dr. Octagon. He had like 5 egos, depending on what he was doing. Right? If you decide to play that game, you will have Marshall Antifreeze or something with antifreeze. Because you'd be like the antifreeze man. Like if you do like a heavy metal side thing.
Okay.
I'm Mr. Antifreeze. Raw. If you want to do that, I think that'd be a good name because that really is, or maybe that becomes a t-shirt. Or maybe a future album called Antifreeze, about breaking down barriers with people and you getting collab. I mean, because when people are in fear, right? Fear of I'm not going to make the money, someone else is going to make the money. I need that cash for my family to live. That's an intense space. And, so I understand. And you have created, Matt, some of this, like what Zach's doing with the merch site of like the during the last Friday meeting about the lady, she's like, a white old lady said, "It's really cool. Your band has shoes."
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
It's about door opening, right? About being more than just yourself, and yet at the same time, you guys are presenting your vision in all this. It's not like you're totally subsumed, hiding in the corner. So I think it's a brilliant strategy. And in a freeze environment, in some way, that is even more successful up here because people don't expect it. They don't expect it.
And that's it goes back to the transparency up the ladder. While we were doing that, I was telling people like, yo, the more you collaborate, I'm not trying to hide it. It's not some sort of like secret formula. It's common sense formula. The more people, the more things you can get involved in what you're doing, the more they're going to show their friends and so on and so forth. So it might seem counterintuitive when you're and this goes back to Seattle being such a decimated infrastructure and so many gatekeepers that are trying to hold out their position that it seems counterintuitive, but it's not, because we don't have enough resources in the one place where we're currently at for people to be successful enough, even if you're at the very, very elite level, which, we're starting to approach. So we have to create more money. We have to create more buzz. We have to create more eyes and more entertainment. And how do you do that? You get more people involved. Because no one
raises all boats.
Hey, I was just going to say, Joe, we haven't heard you all episode. I know you've been listening. Man, Marshall, if you think I have any wisdom, this man's got it by the ton.
So, man, Joe, let's set up a meeting,
my
brother.
sidekick. Like he will, like this episode, we were just rolling. He's like, okay, I don't need to butt in. I'll just observe, right? And if anything, like I'm off or the guest is off or whatnot, boom, he's right there and he's right on it. So I'd like you two guys to meet Mr. Joe Price, Mr. Marshall Hugh.
Hey, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I like in making the scene, your attempt to make the scene, you made it so that the scene, as though the scene had to make you, because you brought in you brought it in, the scene made you, brought you into it by carving out your piece of space, for yourself, bringing your collaborative vibe and your own group, your own network. I mean, and it sounds, what I like about your music, this is like it has a parallel in the East Bay vibe in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's the East Bay vibe, and I see Sacramento, and I'm seeing myself, and what I've seen and what I've been through with what you're creating now. It's this wonderful deja vu, and it's happy. It's an echo that's keeping going on. I love that. I mean, another thing too, the chop, the political unrest and the pandemic are the setbacks, but are also the headwaters for great creativity with the music. The 1980s was a great example because of the political unrest, and it rests us from our complacency to the resources available, like collaborating and networking via web conferencing, as an example. Web conferencing, outdoor networking, and whatnot. And the great example is the chop. The chop was like, during all the riots, it was like a Mardi Gras second line on the battle line. That's what it was like. So pandemonium and celebrity. During the Oakland demonstrations, we did a similar thing with DJs. And in the midst, right on Broadway, I lived in downtown Oakland in the middle of all that. It was like Les Miserables with helicopters. So the creative upheaval and expression of the collaborative mindset is almost like a de facto business model. And all you're doing is including everybody you're rounding up all the resources, the collective mindset of all your friends. And like the final thing is, I like how in promoting yourself, you do it by specifically not promoting yourself, but promoting the culture, the vibe, the music, the festival, and you personally are just left of center. The irony of which, you become the center. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And all you're having to be is non-complacent, because it's a very troubled time. So you gotta scramble for resources and imagination, and picking yourself up by your own creative, artistic, and business bootstraps, and bringing anybody with the similar energy of yours, that similar restlessness bottled up in these uncertain times. And all you do, you find them, and they get to vent alongside with you. And that's the reward in and of itself, let alone the publicity and success.
Sheesh. Well, Caleb, you weren't kidding, my man. Dude, you just took me on a trip, brother.
Just laid it on.
God dang.
This is that I've gotten out of listening to you, and this is, I can't interrupt you. This is fantastic what you're coming forth. It just all sounds like just 2 miles down the hill in downtown Berkeley, Telegraph Avenue, with our own music scene, from the Keystone to Berkeley Square, which is the CBGBs of the East Bay back in the day, and ever since. And I see this happening now in Seattle. I saw it with Caleb in San Jose area, the coming up with the duality of underground music and underground multimedia upwelling, the resurgence, and people networking and finding each other, however separated, however grounded, however in our bomber shell bunkers we could reach out to another via the web, chat rooms and whatnot, and we're doing it all over again. And now this shows like this, and with Zoom concerts, it's like television being reinvented. This is television 2.0. This is what TV was in the 1950s. This is now. And it's about resource and doing what we can, given what we have.
Preach, man. If that ain't a Sunday message, preach. I don't know what is, Caleb. Geez, that's really impactful. I'd love to get a chance to talk to you, with Caleb or Joe, because I would love to connect with some of those. I'm down here in South Central LA, and I got a chance, one of my, he's kind of like my uncle, kind of second cousin or whatever. He lives in Compton, and he was here for the Watts riots, right? And he talked about how the Watts uprising resulted in the formation of the Black Panthers, the formation of the US organization that created and sent him down on a 15-year path of revolution. So to hear his insight on that, I would love to hear some of the people in Oakland's insight and what they would predict would occur to musicians like myself, and some of those pitfalls that they ran into while trying to incorporate their music in the movement. But I don't even know what time it is. I just know that I've had more fun here with y'all than I would have had with Matt and Scarlet Park and all my friends on Venice Beach Boulevard. So I love y'all, but I got people calling me and whatnot, man. I should probably hop up out of here. But goodness gracious, that was an amazing conversation. And thanks for that at the end, Joe, man. That's a nugget I'm going to definitely take with me.
Marshall, you're an absolute gem, and just you're spellbinding to listen to your story, your experience, your movement, and you're turning it back around towards us via your music and your collaborative efforts with your fellow musicians, your fellow artists. And I thank you for that.
Come on, hey, we ain't gonna stop anytime soon. Just if anything goes wrong, blame it on Caleb. Send him a text message. He gonna get it right. You know what I mean? If anything goes wrong,
I do my best.
I'll drive up there myself.
Oh, geez, I got bubble gum and some wire around. Okay, yeah, I can do this.
Hey, Caleb left the
All right,
martial
man.
law band for 2 weeks, and everything went to shit. It was crazy.
It was 2 days. It was 2 days. It wasn't even 2
It
weeks.
felt like 2 weeks.
I went
Caleb.
cross-country
Never
skiing for 2 days, and Pops is like, "You can't leave town no more." I'm like, "What?"
Right. You got to raise your prices or something, Caleb, because you know what I'm saying. Goodness, you got to come to Hawaii with us or something. Get your vacations in that way.
Once COVID is, I get some shots in me, and then I'll get back out there. Anyhow, I'm gonna let you go. You're down to LA and Venice Beach. Enjoy. I will follow up and take that as an action item, as I usually do.
Please.
For you, me, and Joe to have a conversation about Oakland, because so much of where I'm coming from, my mindset came from the time I lived in Oakland, and Joe grew up there all his life. So we will loop you in, and I think there's a real opportunity to bring awareness in that area of martial law band. I don't know how tuned, dialed in people are, but I think it's ripe with an opportunity.
Please, let's do this again.
Absolutely, y'all. Hey, just let me know when, man. I'm gonna be here, even if I'm on the beach.
Like, okay, last statement. I text him, "Are you ready for the show?" And he's like, "I'm on the beach." I'm like, "Oh man, is he gonna get here?" He's like, "I can dash to the car, no problem." All right, that's my last story. Thank you again, Marshall. I'm gonna show one more video, but you can cut on out, and we will be talking more.
All right, sounds good, brother. I'll see you soon, and we'll talk soon, Joe. Take care.
Until
everybody.
next time. Until next time.
Deuce.
Ciao. All right. Well, thank you so much, folks, for tuning in and watching our interview with Marshall Hugh. We'll show another music video from the Martial Law Band. I think this is the latest release. And yeah, you know, make a scene for yourself, right, Joe? I mean, we've been around this Biohazard in the late '80s
Right.
with Mike Jennings, who we've had on the show, and several other folks that made that happen. There just was no scene in San Jose when I was growing up there. And, you know, I tried to make one of various locations. Other people did, you know, but in Oakland, scenes were happening all the time. It was just like inherent. In San Francisco, scenes were happening all the time. San Jose, for some reason, that was very difficult. And in the end, you know, a couple friends of mine rented a house in an abandoned part of the city that no one cared about. And therefore, you could do whatever you wanted to do. And that message was so liberating to people. People flocked there.
Absolutely. It's like the industrial parts of the marginal edges of the city, be it the industrial parts or the port parts or the parts of San Jose where people didn't care about disruption. And then that hard scrabble community that was just barely clinging on by its fingernails in San Jose, for example, blossomed and got big. And all the artistic people knew where, all the restless people knew where to find themselves. And that's how it grew and it blossomed. And then when you have that core, like-minded people draw to it like dust to a dust mop, and it gets bigger and bigger, and people know where to gravitate towards, and it becomes a function. I see that with, I saw that in San Jose. I see that with Marshall, with Seattle. I was in Seattle in '06, and I could see it then, and it's completely evident now with your show and with scenes like Seattle. There are scenes that have gotten so big, and at the same time they would get complacent. But then there are scenes that were just like, again, hard scrabble, being grateful for what little they had. But then all the rest of those people, again, knew where to find each other. All the creative types knew where to network and gravitate. You feel that gravity, and then the ball gets bigger, the gravity gets stronger, and more people get drawn to it. And Marshall is a great example of that. You've been a great example of that in San Jose, and now here, and again, Seattle, it continues all over again.
He puts me on too high of a pedestal. I have to whittle my way back down. I do think you and I, the Bay Area experience is something Seattle can learn from and prosper from. Here, for whatever reason, partially geography, the people with the money, the tech money, are across a lake. You know, they're another chunk of land. Where in the Bay Area, everybody was around this, cantaloupe rind around the bay, and the corridors are there. So people in tech have a band, and the band people are, starting new companies. And so there's this real integration between the arts and the tech world and the corporate world in the San Francisco Bay Area. Here, it's separate. The artists and musicians are one group of people, and the technical folks are separate. And those folks are professionals. If you're going to be in the AES, the Audio Engineering Society, and maybe if you're creative enough, you'll take that money and make a studio, but you're probably more likely to build a lab. And then
I fail to see the difference.
That's
studio lab.
Good point. It's a mindset of Boeing is really huge up here. The largest building in the world is near where I am. And that sort of technical engineer is seen as one community. It's not the same community that are going out to see bands. And that's very different from what I'm used to. And I think there's some opportunity to build bridges between these communities so that they understand that they can participate in each other's worlds. And some of that was starting to happen. Constantine, who's a politician up here, was creating these area revitalizations and historical monuments around music to try to bring these bridges between the local communities, the arts and creativity that's really embedded in local communities, more like San Francisco, and for those to be visible to the folks in Bellevue. So I think after COVID, we will see a blossoming happen, and I think COVID has shook things around enough where people that were locked into the live shows and that was their whole world have had to, get more into tech, right? We grew up where tech and music and all these things were one. You went to the science fiction convention, you worked your tech job, and you did your band thing, and then you did your art thing. Here, because there was such a live music scene, that live music scene was its own mega bubble, and the tech scene was its own mega bubble, and the two didn't really blend in. So that's my follow-up with Marshall. I think I'll schedule a Zoom so the three of us can talk about the opportunities that might be in the East Bay, in San Francisco, East Bay, Oakland, Berkeley, for martial law band, and just sharing some ideas about how to approach things in different ways. Well, I'm going to give you the final word, and I think it is now time to go have dinner. And I appreciate, again, everybody listening and watching the show. What's our final word here, Joe? Because I have not heard the T-shirt of the week.
Well, it's a T-shirt of the week. I snuck it in early, as I think, and it's an old cliche that I think rings true today. It's like a rising tide raises all boats. What Marshall did is that he brought a family in. This is like the missing link between Fishbone and Sly and the Family Stone. He brought his own community, his own scene, and it was just all it was people as restless as he was, as creative as he was, as much of a need for a creative vent as he had, and they got together and they created stuff, and they brought the scene. Instead of trying to break into the scene, they brought their own scene. He didn't audition for the circus, he brought the circus. And the other circus people sat in the audience and watched him. He took it over. He shanghaied the scene.
I
And
think you just said this, the T-shirt of the week. He didn't join the circus. He brought his own circus.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that
Absolutely.
that one right there is a good T-shirt. And then I guess on the back you'll put antifreeze. So maybe I came up with the T-shirt this week. Well, okay, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you again, and go out there and take a look at martiallawband.love or .info, and that will have the links to the different social media. As you could hear from Marshall, Instagram is where all the kids hang out. They don't hang out on Facebook like us old farts, and so he's very active there, but they do have a presence on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff, and the YouTube channel and Bandcamp. I'm a big proponent of Bandcamp. martiallawband.bandcamp.com will have their complete catalog, including the all of the singles with karaoke versions and instrumental versions. This is the kind of conversations I have with them. I'm like, give me that karaoke mix. They're like, well, why karaoke mix? You never know. A year from now, you might be big and that'll be the karaoke track. And yeah, anyhow. All right, folks. Thank you so much, Joe. And I'm going to wrap up by playing a martial law band video called Don't Wanna Die.
Rest in peace, CJ Strickland, and everybody else that's been dealt with police brutality. I don't wanna die, don't wanna cry, just live my life, my life. I don't wanna die, don't wanna cry, just live my life, my life. I should say God bless every cop. They the ones treating us like we the mother-loving ops. Supposed to trust someone who's bound by law. They turn around and shoot us all down like dogs. What's the cause? Yeah. Instead of serving the people, you want to show that you evil, cause a commotion so lethal that it's affecting the region. With our society weakened, the voice and the reason, poison the treatment, the lies and the speeches. All in the game, huh? Manipulating, say the victims were to blame, sad cause the dead can't speak. There's always two sides, but you never hear it beat. Don't wanna die, don't wanna cry, just live my life, my life. I don't wanna
There's been enough tears spilled.
I just wanna live my life, my